Good morning, everyone. As you can see, we're leaning into the Halloween spirit a little bit more. Halloween's not a big deal for me, but I know it's a big deal for a lot of you. So for that reason, we're going to roll the brand new Halloween themed intro. I hope you guys love it.
The time has come, it's almost here. Another day on the markets, approach with no fear. The stage is set, all engines go. Welcome to the angle. Let's start the show. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. Markets rise and markets fall. Atomcash is ready to answer the call. While the bulls charge hard and the bears dig deep, the angle will keep you on your feet. Hold on tight. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. Cashing in on the highs and lows, where the wind of fortune constantly blows. No looking back, keep your eyes on the prize. Fuel the run with a fire that never dies. Hold on tight, the stage is set. Digging deep with no regret. Red and green bars leading the way. Welcome to the angle. No time to delay. No time to delay.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the most entertaining, intellectually stimulating financial podcast in the entire world. You're watching the Atomcash Angle, the show that flips the switch and floods the system with straight financial voltage. I'm Adam Cash, and I'm bringing you the firepower your financial life may have been missing. Now, whether you're new to trading or a trading savant, I am to turn complexity into clarity with a shot of adrenaline. And today is Wednesday. We are on hump day. We've gone through quite the rigmarole. Yeah, we're using that word today. Rigmarole of a week as it seems, and we've got still so much more left to go. We're going over the hump of more bank earnings this morning, but lest we forget that we have OPEX this week. I haven't even mentioned that on the other live programs this week at all. We have OPEX. A lot is going on today through the end of the week, and we're going to walk you through it all like we always do right here on this program. Now, in the overnight session, SPY has had a nice little gap up here and grinding to the upside, hitting a pre-market high of 667.70 so far, looking pretty solid here in the pre-market. And if you watched the program yesterday, I essentially said that we would basically emphatically go and break yesterday's high, the prior day's high, now that we're 2 days ago, right? And we did just that. And then Trump took a little poo-poo on the market at the end of the day, but it's okay. Things still looking good. Volatility still going down. Everything's still pushing the way I want it to push, at least for now. And things are looking good, at least for now. Also, I want you guys to notice that volume we saw yesterday. Wicking off, again, essentially those Friday lows. Not exactly near the 50 MA. Not exactly, but pretty damn close. So this is looking like a nice little move here. Now, if you watched Monday's show, I told you guys there were two outcomes for this week. We either see, and today would be like the deciding day, a rounding off here on SPY. So think of like a lowercase h, where you get this big red bar, and then you get 1, 2, 3 days of price action before breaking Friday's lows, or you see Essentially kind of like a V-bottom thing, which we didn't exactly get here, but if we gap up here and rally, which is what I'm looking for, then we're going to get that second move where we just keep pushing new highs over the previous day. So that's really what's going to matter here. So essentially, as long as we open above yesterday's high, that would validate the second thesis of staying more bullish here, at least in the very, very near term, heading into OPEX, which is what we want to see, or what I want to see at least, at this juncture. Negum saying good morning in the chat, and Toby dropping the sup, Toby. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for popping by. We got a lot going on, a lot to talk about. Real quick, we're going to highlight or go over, I should say, our Catalyst watch for the day, and we'll see if we got anything new coming down the pike. So like I said, or like I alluded to, we do have some bank earnings. That's already currently going on. A lot of those earnings calls are happening pre-market. So you have Bank of America pre-market, and you have Morgan Stanley at market open. So obviously that could influence things a little bit depending on what's said on that call. But really throughout the day, pretty calm. We have a Fed speaker at open, and then two more Fed speakers at noon and at at 12:30 and at 1. And then the beige book at 2. Typically, right, whenever I say typically, it's what is the usual. The beige book doesn't really reveal much, or at least I should say much in sense of affecting the market intraday, but it can. So just at least stick that in the back of your head around 2 o'clock that you at least want to be aware that it's happening, and just be aware with open positions that something from the beige book could necessarily affect the market. It normally doesn't, but you at least want to have that on your radar. And finally, we round out the day with another Fed speaker at 2:30. I misspoke. 2:30. But outside of that, pretty clean day. Nothing too crazy. Like I said, the bank earnings were basically what we need to get through here short term. And then tomorrow, we really don't have much. Again, more Fed speakers are just yammering up. If you trade real estate, you want to pay attention to tomorrow because we have the housing market index, so you want to be aware of that. But that's about it. And then Friday, unless things have changed, we're going to double check right now. Friday was pretty dead at the beginning of the week. And Friday right now is still pretty dead. You got one Fed speaker and then obviously OPEX, which is the big thing you want to keep on your radar this Friday. Now, looking at the market here, we already spoke about SPY. You're going to see me watch UAMI today at market open. I am currently short UAMI. Yes, I am short this via puts. I'm actually short this via puts in our small account, right? And I'm also short this on my main portfolio. This has had a pretty dramatic move here to the upside, and my trigger here for downside is 1671, currently in the pre-market at 1633. If you watch this stock, or you had an eye on this stock yesterday, you saw a pretty stark sell-off at market open. I'm kind of zoomed out here. Pretty stark sell-off at market open, then kind of grinded up, but didn't really get a hard push over that 1850 area. This is one of those names that you want to keep an eye, especially with the options chain here, because if this sinks 15, remember how we love, or at least I love, to talk about delta hedging on this program? Over 18, it gets some support. Over 17, it gets some support. If it gaps down in the 16 area, and it fails this 16 area, which doesn't really have support on either side, you're going to see de-hedging of these 17s, but at 15 is going to be a battle zone, right? Look at this. You have more puts than calls, at least for right now, on the 15 chain. So assuming you break 15, you're going to de-hedge all of these calls. You're going to delta hedge for all these puts, forcing more downward pressure on UAMI here. And then if this thing gets crazy, you got a few calls here. I mean, here through here, and a few puts, nothing too crazy. But if this falls pretty precipitously, getting under 12 and 11, you're going to have a harder push. And this is realistically going to go to 1050 this week. This week. So if you want to consider that, you can, right? Do whatever with that information, what you will. But this is one of those high risk to reward trades where you are taking a risk here on shorting a parabolic name, but it has that support on the options chain that if there is some bear pressure, which we're already seeing, we saw yesterday, if there is some more bear pressure here, it fires through those levels, getting down even from a technical basis. Essentially 823 is where it starts to get some level of bull support here, that old resistance cracking there to the upside here. Tons of gaps to fill here. I'm shooting for 10 on this name. I know it sounds crazy, but we're gonna keep an eye on it today. That's the goal. So if you like that, do whatever you will. Again, high risk, high to reward trade, right? It's not without its own risk. But this volume we saw yesterday, this move we're seeing in the pre-market, if it sees a similar sell-off today that it saw yesterday, This is going to push down pretty hard. Again, that big trigger point, at least looking at the options change specifically, is going to be 15. Getting over 15, or should I say getting under 15, could lead to a little bit of a slippery price action to the downside there, and especially getting under 12 and 11. It's going to melt this thing to the 10s. So do with that what you will. Just saying, there could be some opportunity there. IV's high on those contracts, so you want to be aware, but there is opportunity there. Today on the SPY, we're going to want to keep an eye, as I call it, the Super Devil's number of 666.66. If you've been watching the program, you've heard me talk about this level. This is an important level you're going to want to keep an eye on intraday today, being that we open beneath it. Clearly in pre-market, I mean, it's a little gappy, obviously, because it's pre-market, but you could see that we interacted with it, right? Broke it, and when we broke it, we got a hard push. So now that we're coming back down, we're testing it with the 200 MA here. So we're going to want to watch this level into the open, see if we can get a little bit of a rally here. Just quickly going over to UVXY and VIX. Yesterday, I noticed there was actually an inverse relationship here. Not inverse, let me be careful with my words. But we noticed the VIX falling faster than UVXY, which could hint that volatility, at least in the slightly longer term, was a little bit more sticky than spot VIX. Meaning, next few days may have been more volatile than regular current volatility in that moment, which made a lot of sense when you think about it, because of all the catalysts going through the day and through the rest of this week. Now what I want to see, especially that we're under this 2030 level, is VIX get down all the way down to here. If we open where we are in SPY, we continue to rally. I want to see VIX get under 1830. What does that mean for UVXY? Well, it's kind of interesting. If 1125, this basically like the support area, if you want to call it that. I know it's volatility, doesn't necessarily trade like that, but if we break under this general area on UVXY, I do think it getting back basically into this 1050-ish area is actually a realistic possibility today. I'm still short 1050 puts that are underwater on UVXY from last Friday, which my mistake because I bought those a little too early, I think, after we saw that big volatility pop. So I could have waited a little bit, but I didn't. Hey, we live and we learn. So I still have those open because I still think there's a strong possibility of those being profitable or at least going in the money. So we'll see today. Today's probably as much rope as I'm going to give them unless we, extenuating circumstances change that. EB dropping the good morning, and HR with the ayo, what is going on? Nvidia at open right now, currently back above that 183.30 level. I've talked about ad nauseum how important that level is. We're going to want to wait and see if Nvidia can support over 184.55. If so, this does push it very nicely on the daily here, kind of just soaking up some bear pressure here the last few days and kind of just pulling the bottom out on the bears, which would be pretty impressive. This daily, like I said yesterday, wasn't looking fantastic, but we basically closed on the 50 MA, now with a little bit of a gap up here. If the bulls can find their foot right on this gap up here, you're essentially opening on the 8 EMA. So you're going to be above all EMAs and MAs, essentially, if the bulls can find their footing here and if they can rally it. So this would be a good support here for the general market, as well as, obviously, big tech. Google green in the pre-market as well. Looking pretty solid. Again, as I will continue to remind you, your canary in the coal mine. I still have an open swing position on Google for now. Microsoft is around that very, very key level, so you're going to want to keep an eye on that 512.76 on Microsoft today. Apple, as I've said, has room to the upside. I wouldn't be an uber bull on Apple until we break through these levels, but has room to move up to the upside here. Tesla, I would just be careful between these zones, like neither bull nor bear. Between 419.81 and between 433.31, if you're a day trader, do your thing. But if you're an investor, I would be very cautious here until you get more of a follow through in either direction. I would say the wins favor the bulls here, but not with any strong confidence. With that being said, guys, the market's about to open, so do me a quick favor. If you haven't already, interact with the stream however you like, whether you're watching on YouTube, Instagram, Kick, Twitch, or X. There we go, obviously X. So drop a like on the stream if you haven't already. Drop a comment. Say what's up in the chat. I'll probably say what's up back. I'd like to talk to you guys as we go through today's show. And as always, I appreciate your support. I know your eyes and ears could be anywhere else, and I appreciate that you are here with me this morning. And if you haven't already, pop on over to the YouTube channel. Once we get to 500 subscribers, this will be an everyday show. So if you like the show and you want more of it, just hop on over to YouTube, hit subscribe. It's totally free. I thank you in advance for your support. We're actually doing really well. We're almost at 200 subscribers, so not too bad. Pretty solid. So come check out the YouTube channel, and a lot of the excerpts from this program I upload there too. Anyway, market's about to open right now. I'm going to personally watch UAMI here because, again, we just talked about that whole trade, and we're watching 15 here. 15 breaks. This could be, this could make a parabolic move to the downside. So we're going to keep a tight eye on UAMI into this open here. I am long, just so you're aware, the $16 puts at a 130 cost basis on the small account, and I'm long the $16 puts with a 90-cent basis on my personal account. So that's what's up. Marcel dropping the peace signs. What's up, Marcel? Thanks for saying hey in the chat. Asking Toby to come back. We miss you, Toby. And Hatchet dropping the morning. Good morning, Hatchet. Hope you guys are doing well. Like I said, we're going to focus here on UAMI just for a little bit because I have some very short-term exposure here, and this should be a volatile one. But again, if this breaks under 15 today, this realistically will go more than likely to 12. And if 12 breaks, this is getting yoinked to 10 or even a little bit under that. So the downside potential here on this name, especially without it sitting parabolically, could be a strong short today if you don't already have exposure. Maybe just keep an eye on this one. Joby, we entered live on the program yesterday, and off my entry, even though I only took half size, we're cooking up about 10% on Joby. So hopefully if you guys watch the program, you grab that Joby long because we are Jobying to the upside. The Jobster has been doing very well. I did not get an opportunity to deploy my second half, but hey, it is what it is. We're moving up. So UAMI getting a little bit of a push here. We'll see. We backtest the 1671 before firing down. This is going to be volatile, so just keep that in the back of your mind. SPY right now testing the Super Devil's number of 66666, breaking it in the open, trying to push back up right now. So this is going to be a little bit of a war zone here at the open. Qs right now, we've seen a little bit of weakness. IWM a little shaky, not bad. A little shaky. Volatility sitting in between this big old zone here. 1942 on the VIX right now. Again, what I said, I want to see VIX get down here around this 1830 or under area on the VIX. VVIX a little high right now, green on the day. UVXY kind of flat, I mean down obviously about 3%, but flat on the open. NVIDIA not getting candles updating for some reason. There we go. Broke and back tested the 183.30. Oh boy, do I put my money where my mouth is. These are gonna be kind of expensive. You guys know how much I like this level on NVIDIA. It's so early, they're gonna... Alright, I'm longing some 185s on NVIDIA. 225 fill. It's this level. You guys know I love this level. So we'll keep a tight eye on this and my UAMI. My UAMI. That's such a weird, like, I hate saying it. It's very whammy. Like, it just sounds like I should meme it. Anyway, so for a very simple trade here on NVIDIA, watching this is a key daily support here at this 183.30 level, like I've talked about again on this program ad nauseum. Ideally, I'd look to take a trim up here on the back test of this 184.55. It is market open. These are volatile. IV is going to be high. It will probably more than likely stay high. So I want to be very, very mindful of this. Why did my contract not get added? Add to watch list. There we go. Okay, contract's right up here. I have a 225 entry on these. UAMI getting shot down, made a new low a day, 1559. Again, I'm long the 16 puts, looking for a 15 break. If we break 15, this goes to 12. If 12 breaks, this goes to 10. Very, very good high risk to reward here on UAMI to the downside. NVIDIA breaking the lows for now. I'm going to give a little bit of rope and patience on this one and see if we can turn it around here, because again, this is a big daily level, so I want to give it some time to cook, and it's Wednesday, so I have some time. So we'll see if we can get a sharp little about face here, especially in the early goings here of the morning. So far, not looking good. It's so far not looking good at all. Breaking that level is not a good look. Obviously affecting the SPY here as well. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep the UAMI contracts up here now that I've talked about on the program. We are near 15. Remember what I said, if 15 breaks... I can't even find it. Here we go. 16 puts. And we'll add that to the top. And again, I'm long these in a small account at $1.30. In my personal account, I'm long at 90 cents. So right now, these are up 100% on my personal. And on my small account, we're up 50 bucks. So whatever that is. I don't know. Not doing math right now. It's too early. We'll see if NVIDIA leaves a 5-minute wick down here and comes back up. We got the 5-minute 200 MA here as well. So again, extend some rope here. If we don't reverse out of this by like 9:45, I'll probably walk on it. I haven't taken a single loss this week. I don't plan on taking any, just for what it's worth. Just saying, for what it's worth, I don't plan on taking any losses this week. Well, I think most people don't, but I don't plan on it. There's that wick I'm talking about on NVIDIA. Let me pull up UAMI here. This 15 will not be an easy break on UAMI, but if it does break, it is going to melt. I will continue to say that. It won't be an easy break, but if it does break, you have pretty asymmetric risk to reward here to the downside on UAMI. Even though these contracts are a little pricey, the IV is high, et cetera, et cetera. Especially being in the money, if these goes to 10 bucks, these contracts are going to be worth 6. Sorry. I'm at 16, we go to 10. Yeah, 6 bucks. So I like that. I like asymmetric risk like that. I will take that stab 9 times out of 10 when it makes sense. All right, NVIDIA right now just shy under that. So what we want to see here is obviously the back test of 183.30. We do have the POC here as well, but we want to break that, right? We don't want to back test that and go to the downside. So we want to break through that and push up from here. I don't think we go much lower on the day on NVIDIA, realistically. I really don't think it's going lower than like 182.5, 182.38. Like this should hold for what it's worth. Those contracts are right now at 212, so I'm not too far off my entry. Down about 10 bucks or so, nothing crazy. See what happens there. UAMI leaving 2 wicks behind. Again, this is going to be volatile. You're going to see a lot of volume. You're going to see a lot of wicks, etc. I'm giving you the game plan here. If you want a crazy short, this is going to be it. If 15 breaks, it's going to melt. You can wait for that break too if you like. You know, do whatever you want, but I'm just giving you the game plan here. You guys do whatever you want to do with said information. Strange Maker with the morning. What's up, brother? Good morning. I should put on, Marcel saying I should put on the Red Day shirt. Oh, let's follow up on that. I am pissed. And I put this in our chat yesterday. I am so mad. I wore that Green Day shirt. We were trying to break the curse. Literally, the SPY closed, what was it? Down 0.13%. We almost broke the curse. The entire day the market was green, essentially. Trump had to do a little foo-foo dance at the end of the day, and the market closed down 0.13%. The Green Day curse is not broken yet. So every day I've worn the Green Day t-shirt, the market has been red. Every single day. Every day. Every time. That curse has not been broken yet. So that's the goal for next week. We're going to try to break the Green Day shirt curse. We're going to try. I guess, Marcel, this is going to be the closest thing to, like, well, I do have a red shirt. I was going to say, I don't have a Red Day, or obviously, or something like that shirt, but this is an orange shirt, right? I'm feeling the Halloween spirit today. Ooh, no, NVIDIA. We don't want to see this. No, no, no. Shouldn't be this low. No, 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 no. What's the low of this candle? Yeah, 182.05. It should not be this low. No, 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 no. Negative. SPY not looking too bad. Not really going anywhere there, but obviously, as we just saw in NVIDIA, that's not helping here. But very range bound between these LOIs. Again, as I said, that 666.66 number on the SPY is going to be a very, very important level you're going to want to not sleep on today. And then you have these 2 LOIs to the upside here that served as essentially a resistance here in the pre-market, 66729 and 66734. Until we're out of this range, I would not be long or short the market. I obviously lean more bullish right now. But I wouldn't be aggressively long or short the market in general. Oh, no. Like I said, I'll give this around 945 because this seems a little sharp. Seems a little too sharp. It really shouldn't have gone under, like, really, we shouldn't see closes under 182.5. 182.05 in that range, we should see support, which we're kind of seeing right now. Between 182.05 and 182.50, there should be some level of decent support here. So we should see some aggressive buying, which thankfully we're seeing a little bit of action there. Eddie, what's up? Dropping the yer in the chat. I still have not found a yer, a yer soundbite. But to be fair, I spent my time, or I've been spending my time on creating a new Halloween theme song, and then I did this. I put a little clip art here with the pumpkins and the cobwebs. So, you know, that's where my energy has been divulged instead of making the your soundbite. But that's on the docket of random things to do for this show. We gotta grab the your soundbite at some point. Gotta make one or find one. So we're gonna keep a tight eye on Nvidia here. SPY's really choppy here. Q's looking a little droppy. Not seeing as much bullishness while the IWM is pushing. Guys, if you want to be long something right now, just in general, and I'm talking equity, you probably want to be long anything small cap, medium cap, even large cap. Mega caps, or some large caps, I should say. On the smaller end of large caps. These are all primed, and I'm talking equity, not options. A lot of these small, medium cap names are primed for a harder move. In fact, we've seen a lot, I've seen a lot of people on social media saying how they're aggressively short the market and, oh, I'm shorting all these names, I'm shorting all these aggressive growth names, blah, 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 blah. You even saw me change my tune. I said how a lot of these names are worth way more than they should be, and they continue to be worth more than they should be. And that's where the hype is right now. Momentum trading is big right now, and there's a lot of momentum trading going on. And you want to keep an eye on the momentum trades in general, but you also want to look out for when the top on some of those momentum trades may come off and when that risk to reward makes sense. Like with UAMI here, which I said might get a retest of the 1671 before firing down. But when you look at the daily chart and you look at names like this that have moved to the upside, like Joby's not like that, but Joby was like that before it got a little pull there. So if you're going to be short, you want to short individual names that have that kind of opportunity there with the options chain support, like I've spoken about on this program quite a bit. You don't want to just be short sectors to short sectors because someone said it on their X feed. Like, oh, I'm short all quantum names, or I'm short all nuke names. Like, it is a fool's errand right now. And I know that seems funny because, oh, all these names are overvalued. Oh, go. And yeah, they are. But guess what? The market can remain irrational longer than you could stay solvent. And that's the name of the game right now. And I'm right. I'll cap that off with I'm right. A lot of these names, a lot of these momentum names are holding their momentum. And even though we're going to have days like Friday where there's a big scare in the market and the market drops like 3%, but everything gets hammered hard until there is actual definitive bear momentum. And Friday, you kind of got that. And I would be more concerned if that weekend news wasn't reversed. But guess what? The catalyst to cause that bear move on Friday was reversed. And as a result, we proceed back where we were. Like I've always said, you don't just continue one way or the other just because reason. If the cause of the drop is remedied, so to speak, then we revert back to the upside. As I like to tell the people in our community all the time, a bear move is a bull move waiting to happen, or a bear catalyst is a bull catalyst waiting to happen. When someone says bad news, guess what bad news does? It resolves itself over time, right? When there's a war, what happens? Wars end. When there's a shortage of supplies or whatever, guess what happens? We get more supplies or whatever. When, I don't know, pick any other bear event. When someone gets assassinated, someone's replaced in their place. Anytime something bad happens, something good eventually resolves it. And that's where your head should be. When you hear bad news catalysts, say, okay, now that this bad thing happened, where is the good end of this? And when do I anticipate that coming? And that's what you watch out for. That's how you don't get suckered in to people on social media being like, oh, I'm short everything, go. I'm net short right now, go. No. The market is built to go up. there are very specific times to be short, whether intraday or long term, right? As I will remind you, and as Friday is a great example, bear moves take an elevator, bull moves take an escalator. Meaning, bear moves are typically sharp, they're rapid, they're quick, they're typically in 1 day or 2 days, right? But very, very quick. Bull moves tend, unless it's like a short squeeze, tend to be more over the course of a few days, or more of a pattern where they continue to the upside, right? You're not going to see continued dramatic fall. We're not going to see the SPY hit $300 in like 4 days or whatever ridiculousness, right? That was a big exaggeration, but you get my point. You're not going to have that happen. You're not going to have a definitive bear trend. Even if we go back in time. Why? Omar said 9:45. Do we have news? Did I miss something? Is there a 9:45 news event? You knocked me off my soapbox here, Omar. Is there something good happening? There's nothing happening. You're just saying 9:45. Come on. Sometimes there's news at 9:45. Anyway, if we go back to even when we saw the tariffs, right? Guess what? We dropped pretty hard. Like I said, elevator down, escalator up, right? Do. Just slowly moving back to the upside. We broke that original drop point over here. And guess what we continue doing? Going up. If you're ever going to be short, you're ever going to be a bear, you want to be very careful and very specific. There are very, 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 very rare times where I am swinging a bear position because you take on so much more risk as a bear. So when people say they're net short or whatever, be very careful listening to them because, and again, depending on your time frame, being net short in general is a very dangerous game. Very dangerous. And most of the times you'll lose. It's my shtick. You said you'd walk on NVIDIA if... oh, that's why you're saying 9:45, because of the NVIDIA trade. Right. You guys suck. All right, if low a day breaks, I'll cut it. You got POC here. It really shouldn't be this low. Like when I say that, I'm talking about the daily chart. I looked at it last night. I said if we gap up, if we move back down, I'd want to take a stab at it. Really shouldn't be this low. Really shouldn't. And it's Wednesday. I have a little time. But I don't want to keep moving the goalposts. So I'll stick to my guns here. If we break the low a day, I'll cut it. Just keep me honest, right? You guys can hold me responsible. And if it moves back to the upside, I'll blame all of you. It's all your fault. So we'll wait and see. Bears do have momentum after this break here. So, all right, cutting it. Cutting it. Womp womp. All right, I'm out. First L of the week. Everyone blame Marcel in the chat. I said what I said. I got to stick to my guns here. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to look to re-enter, to be fair. So we'll see. It shouldn't be this low, as I said, but breaking the lows here I don't like. I already gave it a little too much rope, and like I said, by 9:45 it really... Between 182.5 and 182.50 should have found some support, which you could see here, a little consolidation range, right? But breaking those lows there, I don't like. So I'm just gonna wait and see. You whammy. Looking like it's gonna whammy to the downside here. Breaking the SAR. Watch the SAR break for the low a day break, for the 15 break, and then a total collapse, which would be chef's kiss. We will see. We're very close. X is long. The 182.5s though, double confluence. Like I said, it shouldn't be this low. Maybe I should give it more time, but I'm out. I'll get back in if it turns around, whatever. Marcel says, I feel like I have to look for a new trading community. Yikes. Damn, they got me in the feels. Oof. If we can get the government employees to shut up, says Evie. Yeah, I'm tired of the Fed speakers every single day. You know, there's a point in time where Fed speakers would speak and no one gave a crap. No one cared. You whammy near the low a day. Low as I'll keep saying this, and I'm saying it for a reason. If you're watching live, I'm saying this because I think there's a good opportunity, and I don't typically focus on one name like this if I don't think there's a good opportunity. Now, I haven't overtly taken a trade on this name while live, but that's because I'm already long on some $16 puts at $1.30 and 90 cents. So you do with that information what you will, but I will continue to highlight the risk to reward opportunity here that if 15 breaks, this will go to 12. If 12 breaks, this will go to 10. And if that happens, a $16 put, if it gets all the way to 10, will be worth $6. So even at a 170 entry, you're going to be chilling on about a 200% gain. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. That's it. That's all I'm saying. There's your new low on your whammy. You whammy whammy. Can we break 15? Can it break 15 and melt? I've seen people talk about... All right, little aside, because I've seen people talk about names like this and names like Open on social media, and I cover them, right? They're meme names that get a lot of retail traction. And when you notice people get, one, too emotional about a stock, and two, they focus on all the ancillary things. Oh, look how much the CEO's getting paid, or look what he plans on doing with his price package, or oh, they're introducing new things, goo. Like, anytime, I'm doing that voice a lot today. Anytime you see a lot of retail traders focusing on these individual things, typically, especially on a parabolic chart like UAMI right now, move pretty hard to the upside. Typically, you want to get the hell out of the way. If you're long, and if you want to contemplate a short, it'd be a good time to contemplate a short. Because a lot of the times, pick my words carefully, dumb money picks, and I'm dumb money. I'm long open right now for what it's worth. Doesn't mean I can't make money. A lot of retail traders that are that emotional buy at the highs, right? They buy at the highs, and then they don't sell, and then they bag hold, and then it dies, and they keep bag holding. And specifically, a great example of this is I have a friend of mine who occasionally trades the stock market, right? And he said, I told him last night, I was like, yeah, I'm actually short UAMI because he told me he was long it. And I was like, well, I'm actually short that right now. And he's like, why would you be short this? They have Department of Defense contracts and blah, 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 all this other crap. And that was at like 3 o'clock yesterday. And I was contemplating, I'm like, maybe I'll roll them out for more time, something like that. But when I had that conversation, he called me at 3 o'clock and we were like talking about that. I'm like, no, hell no, I'm swinging these. That was all I needed to know. Like, nope, we're swinging them. We'll see what happens. I'm pretty confident. That was extra confidence, right? That's extra. Sometimes there are indicators that are better than technicals and better than fundamentals. And sometimes it's just hearing some people say the wrong thing. And that's just enough. It's the human element. And that's the other thing with a stock like UAMI. There's a human element here where people are going to start to panic, right? People have their stop losses on, etc. People are panicking. They see, oh man, what crime it is, what manipulation. The stock's down 13%. Yeah, bro, it's down 13%. And it's down 13% because, I mean, we'll go even before this little rally here, right here. Even before this little rally, in 8 days, it went up 160%. Okay. Yeah, it can come down a bit. Like, some people get a little too invested. And I'm not talking money, I'm talking emotions. Nice little V bottom here on NVIDIA. We're back at that support area, this 182.05. I like the red SAR here. I like that we're above POC. Might reposition to make up for the L here. All right, I'm going to get back long on NVIDIA here. Same contracts. All right, I'm long at 170. Let's try again. This time I'm going to be more patient. I don't have to worry about buying super high IV. The goal here is to make up the loss, obviously, and then some. And again, I waited for that 12.5 area, this area of support, right? Breaking over 182.5 would be a good sign. We're breaking the red SAR here. We're above the POC. So we have a lot of things working in our favor here for a successful day trade. It's still in a bear trend. I like this little V-bottom action here. Good volume. This one I'm going to wait on a bit, though. So this one might take a little longer to play out, but I don't really, like I said, NVIDIA shouldn't be this low today. So a little reposition here. Bought those calls a little cheaper now, so we will see how this fares. Now, granted, I could have just held my original position, right? But here's what it is. You never know. Things can go to hell, right? You don't want to be that guy. UAMI consolidating at the lows. It's probably going to get a reversal here to backtest the POC. Those contracts that I'm long are at $1.70. Big spread on these. 165, 190 spread. Big spread. If this thing goes where I want it to go today, if this thing goes to 10 on one contract for our small account, that would put the whole account up 10%, which would be insane. It'd be wild, which I'd love to see. So we're going to see. Anytime you can get, again, I'll reiterate, anytime you can get that asymmetric risk to reward where you could take a risk and you could make hundreds of percents for, you know, a 50% downside risk or something like that, you always want to take those shots. Always. They may miss sometimes, but when they hit hard. And those are like big winners you want to have. Let's look around at the market. Joby not doing too much. SPY breaking the high. New high a day on the SPY right now. Qs V bottom. Look at that. Off that key level. 601.65. We wicked a few pennies beneath it. Sharp recovery right there on the Qs. Nice to see. IWM had a nice little move. Came down with the rest of the market. Now back to where it was. So a little rangy today, but nothing too crazy here. VIX is still above its low a day, so you're going to want to see this low a day crack. It's, the fact that we're at high a day on SPY and volatility isn't lower hints that there could be some price disagreement on SPY's price action right now, so be aware of that. That's a risk. VVIX is moving to the downside, though, so it's giving us the idea that volatility is actually cooling, or I should say the odds of volatility having a reversal, so to speak, in this case, are lower. I don't know why my candles aren't updating. There we go. Had a little pop there on UVXY, back to basically open price. Nothing crazy there. I don't know if you guys are seeing this on my stream. My candle, you definitely are. Yeah, my candles are lagging. It's odd. Google's copying the same Q chart, essentially. V bottom and up. Microsoft. As long as Microsoft is over this key level, 512.76, it's bullish. On the daily and on the weekly, actually. The weekly's a little more reversey. Like it's more like you kind of have like a sloppy inverse head and shouldery kind of look here. Where you push the highs, lift the shoulder, you leave a little head here, rally back up, or kind of like a V-bottomy look. I'm personally waiting on the weekly for 519.30. If 519.30 goes with a close over on the weekly, then I might swing some Microsoft on longer term contracts for what it's worth. I talked about Apple ad nauseum. I just wouldn't get too excited about this one just yet. Tesla's above that range for now, so it's above 433.31. So if anything, I'd lean more bullish than bearish on Tesla. You do have earnings coming up. Is that next week? 10/22 next Wednesday. So exactly 1 week from now. Their IV on those contracts tends to already be juiced. Expect more juice on those Tesla contracts. Again, I'd reiterate multiple times to be very careful on Amazon until it is over 221. Intraday, though, if it's going to rally, it's set up to rally for what it's worth. Meta Bulls have been doing a really good job. They've been defending this. They actually made a higher low here on the daily chart off this $708.02 level. This is actually looking really clean for a reversal now. Your MACD's curling up. Bulls are starting to gather some momentum here. Earnings are kind of close, 10/29, but watch basically watch these highs break. If these highs break, it's going to pop back up like 750 area. I don't hate this for a swing. I hate that the earnings are coming up. So here's a little, I don't want to say pro tip because that's very lame. But here's something I like to do, especially if I'm buying out the money contracts. So if I'm buying further out the money contracts to kind of either reduce my cost basis or capture some IV, and the company I'm trading has earnings coming up, I always buy the expiration after the earnings. So not only is the IV on both chains are going to be elevated regardless, but as we move into earnings, I eat a little less theta decay, obviously, if I have to hold that whole time. And obviously the decay on those contracts, since that IV should theoretically hold or even climb, will cushion a loss if the trade doesn't work out that well. And I'm talking specifically if I'm further out the money. So if I wanted, for example, to trade Meta to 750 before earnings, and even if I went all the way out, like, man, these are even expensive. 750s for Halloween are $20. Well, even if I went stupid, I'm not going to 900, but I guess this is a bad example. Well, let's do 10% out the money, which would be 790. Right, about 790. Still $10, so still pricey, but not bad, at least for this name. And if I'm assuming, in most conservative metrics here, again, about a $30 appreciation. Delta right now is 22, with a gamma of basically 1 cent. 22, 10, $660. So even assuming no delta appreciation and assuming IV stays stagnant, these contracts, if I'm playing to 750 before earnings, would be worth at least a 60% gain, even though they're super out the money, right? So that's what I personally like to do sometimes. If I'm trading, again, like a bigger name, right, like Meta or whatever, that has earnings coming up, but it's a few times away, and I still want to trade the name. I did that with Google in our small account, where it was only like a 20% gain or whatever because I was de-risking, but it still works out great. So you can make money on out the money contracts, but you want to be smart about your choice, and you want to be realistic with yourself because obviously you're taking on more risk when you buy out the money. So little food for thought. NVIDIA sitting around here, kind of making an inverse head and shouldery kind of look. So I will be patient and wait on this now. You whammy. Keep an eye on it right now. I just had a price alert go off for CE. Let me check on that real quick. I feel like I had this set for a while. No thanks. I'll come back to that later. I probably should go over my price alerts when I get them on stream with you guys. That way you can see why I have an alert set and why it went off. Maybe we'll start doing that. Would you guys like that? Some live review of potential trades. All right, here we go. You whammy. Near the low a day. Those contracts are $1.80. Again, under 15, you're going to force delta de-hedging, essentially, of a lot of calls. 3,000 calls. And re-hedging of 4,000 puts, essentially. Now, volume on these chains right now, intraday, you got another 1.5K at the 15 puts. And you only have, look at this. This is great. This is what I like to see. This is what I like to see. You only have and you can't see the pop-up on my screen, but you only have 294 additional calls at the 15. Now, granted, the 15 is in the money, so a lot of people don't do that. So retail likes to go one out the money at least, and so do I. So let's look at the 16s. No call volume, 274. What about the puts? 286. Hold on, we're doing some live chain analysis here. So retail's buying the $17 calls, 444. Only 85 on the puts. So people are loading $15 puts right now on Uwami. I like saying it that way. And bulls are loading, or I should say retail, are loading the 17 18s. So again, assuming, what about the 14 puts? And the 14 calls. Yeah, this is going down. If this breaks 15, this is going down. With a high degree of confidence. I kind of want to buy, you know what I'm going to do? Google's ripping. I'll check it out in a sec. It's risky. It's risky. You know what I'll do for my small account? I'm going to buy one $12 put. That's ultra ballsy. It's expensive for what it is, but I'm gonna buy one $15 put. Sorry, $12 put for 15 cents. We'll see. We'll see. Whammy, 10, 17, $12 put at 1. I literally typed 1 in all caps. Alright, let's check out Google, and we'll check out, hold on, let's look at NVIDIA first. Not too much. Google. Yeah. Google is ripping. Thank you, Eddie. So I am actually long the... What am I long? The 245 calls for Halloween's date at an 842 average. So we're rocking and rolling with those. I've trimmed them out now twice. Last trim was yesterday for a 26% gain. So we'll see. I want to see this push over 250 and then kind of get an idea of what it does. But yeah, nice little push here on the Googler. That sounds disgusting. On the Googler. Gross. So we'll keep an eye, see if 250 goes, and I'll get more excited. Okay, NVIDIA, a little bit of a candle here. Got 10 cents on those contracts. So my loss from that first play per contract was $65. So assuming for you guys, I'm saying this. So assuming you got in the exact same size, with the exact same amount of contracts, I would need a 235 trim to break even, assuming all things hold constant. So we'll see. All right, so being a bear on you, Whammy, I'd prefer to see this reject under 1550. That would make it better. Check something here. Actually, what would be the best case scenario for you, Whammy, here? As a bear? To not do much for a little bit. Chop. Get comfy down here at the lows. Then break the lows. Break that 15. That would be actually the best case scenario. Where it kind of builds a base here. Looks like it's going to reverse and then... That would be the best case scenario. Because it has fallen overall, right? Especially on the 5 minute here. So it does... Anytime you hear me say something needs to cool, it's because I like to, again, that's why I like the SAR indicator so much, focus on the parabolic nature of stocks. And they typically move in swings, right? We go down a certain degree, we come up. We go up a certain degree, we come down. And when I'm seeing a move like UAMI and the potential here, I want it to stay somewhat bullish here, somewhat sideways here, because that allows the bear push so far. And again, if we're looking at the daily, it's a different comparison, but it allows the bear move so far to cool a bit, right? It allows people to reload before they short again, or it allows more people to get in their feelings, right? I like that. Same thing with the other side, right? If things get bullish and they start to crest, I want it to chill there for a little bit before I take another long, assuming momentum is still there. This is looking so good. It's looking so good. NVIDIA also looking so good. We're back over that 182.50, so we have held that support range. You have a little bit of that inverse head and shoulder here intraday. Now getting a little bit of a push here. You got the 50 MA and 183.30 as your resistance points here on NVIDIA here, very short term. 5 minutes looking very reversey here. You have an ugly looking miniature inverse head and shoulder here on the 5 minute, or like a V-shaped recovery. Your trigger here on the 5, you could use the high of this candle here, would be 183.09, which I believe is roughly around, oh no, it's not. It's just shy of our key support here. So we'll just use 183.30 to be super certain. Over that, you push bullish on the 5 minute, which is going to put a lot of momentum in the pocket of NVIDIA to continue an upside rally here. So if you're long the stock market in wow. Sorry. SPY broke out of the range and went... Broom. If you're long the stock market, and this looks a little crazy, it's going to go higher. I said it. I said it. I stand on that. We're going to go higher. Now, I don't like that for UAMI because I am going against the grain, right? The momentum of the market is up, but some things on a singularity basis, when you're looking at things individually speaking, that is where things make a difference. So, different analysis. 670 on the SPY. You love to see it. Yeah, don't sleep on NVIDIA here. I'm going to make my money back. Feeling good about it. I'm going to make that loss back and then some. Q's getting a nice little rip here. IWM participating. Is volatility dying? Woo. All right, so UVXY is tapping this zone here, and I mentioned this in pre-market. If you want to be a bull today, again, we want to see under 18, what is it, 1830 on the VIX, which we're grinding down on volatility. This is great. You want to see under 1830. So believe it or not, if volatility drops more, the market will rip even more. Like if we get under 1830, the market's going to rip even more. And UVXY getting under this range of 1116, there's a very high probability this goes to 1050. You whammies at 15. Did we wick it? You whammy broke 15. Come on. So for the delta hedging to occur, like I say on this program all the time, you need a confirmed break with some momentum. So it's got to go through that level before market makers go, okay, we need to hedge or de-hedge these positions. So just tapping 1499 is not going to do it. The flip side of things here, this could be market makers sweeping stop losses at a key level. People are obviously going to put their stop loss at 15 bucks, 14.99. Look at the volume here. So people are going to get stopped out, and then they could rip it back to the upside. So two sides of the coin here. But if we get a confirmed break, and what I would call a confirmed break is like a 5-minute close under 1480, 1475, more than likely is going to force delta hedging, which will add bear pressure, and this stock will drop like a rock at least to 12, and if 12 breaks, at least to 10. I'm going to keep saying it. NVIDIA looking pretty solid. You're up about 15 bucks a contract right now, so about 10% or so on the re-entry. So nothing to write home about yet, but I'm waiting for the bigger fish here. Try to capture my, recoup my loss on the original play. Let's see where we get with that. Market cooling off here, back testing that 66937 LOI here. And the market's moving in unison with volatility moving down. So these are all signs you want to be a bull on the day, not a bear in general. Bearish on UAMI, as I've said multiple times. But in general, you want to lean bullish on the day right now. Again, your massive, like, ultra bull confirmation is under 1830 on the VIX and essentially under 1116 on UVXY. Under those two parameters, especially as SPY, as QQQ, and as IWM charts all look the same, we have a 4 out of 4. We've got volatility decaying with all three indexes moving in unison to the upside there. That's like my golden setup. That's like ultra bull setup. You don't want to be short that ever in most capacities. Again, the only thing I'm short right now is volatility, ironically, and UAMI. That's it. And I still have my bear spread for SPY, but that's going to get fried, which is okay. It was built to get fried. I would not be short really anything else, again, unless you're shorting like an individual name like I am here that has had a tremendous upside and could see more downside, or could see some downside, I guess I should say. But I'd be very, very, very careful shorting anything. I wouldn't even, if this holds like this, if this momentum holds and if volatility breaks those two key levels, I wouldn't even intraday short. I just wouldn't. You're playing with fire there. So many, I will lovingly say, stupid people are short stupid things right now, and they're having a bad time. Don't be one of them. Do not be a stupid person. Be a patient person. I'm foaming at the mouth watching this thing. I want to see this thing die. Die. It's Halloween. We got to see some blood, right? I want a blood-curdling scream sound effect. Are you guys watching anything in particular? The chat has suddenly gotten very quiet. Normally you guys are pretty talkative. I know some days you guys talk a lot more than others, but today is an unusually quiet day, which I hope if you guys are quiet in the chat, that means you're just listening and you're making buckets of money somewhere trading something right now, and you're just hearing my commentary as you trade. So hopefully that's a good sign. So if you want to pop back and let me know that's why, that's great, and keep doing that. Because all of my All of my portfolios are rocking and rolling. I'm looking at everything right now. And as the kids say, we are cooking. We are definitely cooking. For sure. That my Powie trade is up 17% in 3 days. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, UWAMI is at the lows again. HR dropping the absolutely. Love it. That's good reason. Marcel saying, still here, just watching, listening, and learning. Hell yeah, man. Toby says, I'm making chocolate shuffle because I'm bored. I don't know what that means. Please, Hatchet says, please repeat the two I'm assuming you mean volatility levels. Yeah, sure. VIX, 1830. UVXY, 1116. You have 1125 here as well, which you saw a little bounce here. But really, if you want to keep it simple, under 1116. So, under those two levels, that puts your short term, your spot VIX, bearish. And that's a big fall still. That's 80 cents from here. So by then, the market's going to be just ripping. But breaking that, the market will continue to rip. So I would be careful. Let me change what I'm saying. If we tap 1830, that could be a point where the market exhausts for a little bit on the day, because that's going to be an area of support for the VIX. But if you see the VIX melt through 1830 specifically, then the market's going to get even more upside very fast. Let me phrase it like that. More than likely, you're going to see the 1116 on UVXY break before the 1830 on the VIX, for what it's worth. UAMI's at 15. Oh, give me just a Marubozu candle here. Marubozu meltdown candle. You guys know I love saying Marubozu. Marubozu! That's one candle, no wicks, either end. Just a straight bar. That's what I want. Let's drop some bars. Assuming your name's Lewis. Subly Lewis? So then here, Chief? Hell yeah. First stream in a while because of school. All right, well, I'm happy you're here, my friend. You can always watch them on demand. I record all these. They're all live on the YouTube channel. I know they're not as exciting watching them on demand, but on the YouTube channel, I clip out everything as well. So if you're interested in like individual stock analysis or whatever, you can watch those individual portions on the YouTube channel, which you're watching on YouTube. So if you subscribe, you'll know. Anyway, on the level 2 here, watch 1490, 1480, 1478. And again, I only really use a level 2 in momentum scenarios. So if we sweep these, we're dropping. For sure. Ooh, go. 1491 got hit real quick. So that wall got chewed up real fast. So someone swept that order and went, nope, and popped it back up. So that wall's gone. Real quick. That's gone. And the bulls defend once again. That, if you watch that live, I don't know if any of you are watching my stream, but that was like quick. Flash hit. Just ate it up. I want to go back and look at the tape. Can we find it? Let's try to find it. 1490. Boom. Literally swept 9 cents real quick. Just took that and went, yep, thanks. Sheesh. Alrighty. Also, so you know, when you're reading the tape down here, oh, you can't see it because my head's in the way. Well, at least if you see the colors here, so see where my mouse is over here, or if you use Weeble, this is good food for thought. Red text means someone went near the ask. Green text, I'm sorry, other way around. Red text means someone moved towards the bid. Red text means someone's moved towards the bid. Green text means someone moves towards the ask. When it's red and it lights up like this, like highlighted, someone smacked the bid. And when it's highlighted green, someone smacked the ask. So this, reading the tape here, can actually give you an idea of momentum. If you see this thing flash bright red, that means people are bailing the hell out. They're hitting the bid and they're just like, I want out, get me out, get me out. That's when this flashes like red and you see bright red. When you see bright green, which again, you can see it next to my head here. You see the green text or whatever, so you're not seeing the orders, but you can at least see when it does it. When you see bright green, people are slapping the ask. People are being aggressively bullish. So that's a little thing, especially if you use Weeble. Like right there, you see that bright red there? Boom. That means someone was aggressively bearish. They said, I want to get the hell out. Now, it was only 100 shares, but someone hit the bid and said, I want out. Notice this little fight here we're getting at 15. Like I said, it won't be an easy break, but if it does break, and when it does break, it's going down. I'm yelling timber. Nvidia rejected a little bit here. Got a little bit of a consolidation. Again, I'm going to be patient on this one. This one might take a little while, but as long as it's in this range, I feel pretty good about it. Arguably, I could have just left my position open, but I didn't want to lie to you guys. I said what I said, and I should stick to my words. So I did. But I'm going to be a little bit more patient on this one. This should work out, especially with how everything else is looking in the market right now. Where it looks like we're just kind of cooling off here momentarily across the board. Ooh, okay. You whammy 1490. Yo, whammy it to the downside. You whammy it down. How about that? Now you have a wall at 15. I'm so excited. Because if this works the way I think it's going to work. It's very rare I get very hyped like this. So excuse me. But I'm very hyped that if this goes the way I think it's going to go, it's going to be great. It's not out of the woods by any means. But if it gets here, it's going. SPY's also looking great. We should take a peek. You guys want to take a peek at some of the names we mentioned on this program? Let me just pull some up. NNE, talked about that on the program. Uploaded a video on that one. That one's up 6.5% today. QS, I think I spoke about on the program. That's up 5% today. Better is red off my entry. Just full transparency, but up 7%. So pretty good. Powie spoke about on the program. That is up 17%. Uploaded a video on that one. Those are the big movers that I spoke about on the program, it looks like. Crocs, up about 8%. Not on the day, but trading $84, looking pretty solid. That's about it. And Joby obviously made a big move yesterday, like we discussed. Pretty solid moves here across the board. No shame in my game. I'm pretty happy. We're looking good. Market just kind of consolidating at the high here. I don't believe, again, we have any news coming down anytime soon. Let me just verify that nothing popped up. Because sometimes I'm just doing my thing. I'll tell you guys at the beginning of the day. And then out of nowhere, it's like, oh, Trump's going to have 19 meetings or something like that. And it's just, you know. It is 10:22. Yeah, we got nothing. You got a Fed speaker right now. Still has been speaking now for quite a long time. Miriam? You gotta forgive me, guys. I don't remember. I can't. I'm not good with names. This person is speaking again at 12:30 for what it's worth. Not really saying too much of interest. If anything, more dovish commentary than hawkish, which is good for the market. But nothing really too anything. This could be interesting. Senate Republican leader Thune said, I will try to pass the GOP stopgap bill again today. Interesting. I don't really think the government shutdown has affected the market or really will affect the market. In fact, I even mentioned on this program that the government shutdown is actually a bullish thing for the market, mainly because of the fact that our labor data will not be available. And consequently, if it's not available, we can't know how bad we are. we won't know how bad things are because the data's not available. So it's bullish, because if you don't know, then you can't complain. Eddie saying Google won't quit. Oh, hell yeah, we broke the 250. Let's go, Eddie. Let's go. I gotta look at all my contracts now. All right, looks like I gotta trim out some of my googs. Some of my googs. I'm currently long the 245s for this week. And those I got in at 310. So those are now up over 100%. There we go. Trim that out. 146% gain. You should join the Discord if you haven't already. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. And then I'm also long, like I said, the 245s for Halloween, which are right here. 245s for Halloween. What a beaut. Look at these. 14 bucks. Oh, my limit order filled on those. I placed a 1420 limit order. That filled. LOL. That was 68%. That's a lot of money. I'm pretty hyped about that. Sorry if you hear me click-clacking, I'm updating my logs. My logs. Marcel saying, damn, I'm salty, big paper hand. See, the key there are two things, because I know some people complain about paper handing things sometimes. Weekly contracts, you take on a lot more risk. If you don't have the money to risk, don't risk it, right? Easy. On the other hand, and thanks, Eddie, for the assist, because obviously I wasn't watching Google, so appreciate you shouting it out, because you helped me get out essentially at the top. So big ups to Eddie in the chat. Everyone drop a year for Eddie with the assist. But Marcel, that's why I'm not even in runners on my Google swings, because I have time and I'm in the money. So I got both things working in my favor on the swings. My weeklies, next trim I'll probably be runners, but also they've made me 146%, so it's basically a full covered position. I'm at like a third size. So yeah, like, you know, unless it just goes to hell, I don't really care. But if you don't have the money to have runners or have more exposure, be really happy when you get, I'm telling you, 10, 20%. You guys see how long sometimes equity takes. Like, you got names like Joby sometimes in the same day you'll get 10%. Like, it happens, right? And some days you get 7%, 8% on individual names, especially if you're trading momentum names. But when you're trading options and if you can lock in 20%, 25%, 30%, that is amazing. You have to compare that to the equity you're trading, right? If you can get those kinds of gains, right? Roll them over. Like, stack them, because when you make those gains, you can start compiling those gains and over, you compound them and compound them and compound them. Eventually, you have enough money where then after you compound it over and over and over again, then you have the privilege, I'm using that word specifically, the privilege to have a larger amount of contracts, which consequently gives you the ability to trim, right? And the ability to take and go as you please, so to speak, and the ability to adjust risk. So that's why I say a lot of the times, if you're in like a smaller account and you're trading like weekly contracts, if you can get a few contracts, it's better, because you have the ability to trim and move a stop loss up and not lose money. In fact, that's a lesson I relearned for myself running the small account that we have at Exclusive Trading, where I had some losses where I alerted multiple option trades, and I know some of you guys are watching, like I know Marcel's in Seed Decree, where I've alerted options trades and they've gone up 30%. Gap. I'm trying to remember my bruises now. Gap, Snapchat, Rivian, and they're spread trades, and they're up 30%. Like, great trades. And I also made them in my own portfolio, and I trimmed them out. But because I only had one contract, I was waiting for like a certain price, and you know, in a way, it was greed, right? You could argue I'm being greedy on my $16 puts for UAMI here on the weekly here that I have in my small account for $1.30, but it's because of the opportunity here in this case, and it's because I was looking at the opportunity for those contracts as well. So there are times where the opportunity makes a lot of sense, and there's other times where you just got to be honest and take the win, because the options will give you money as quickly as it will lose you money. At least with equity, you have so much more flexibility. You can cut some shares, you can move a stop loss up, you can better calculate your risk to reward. So if you're trading options and you're having a hard time, or you're in a smaller account, it's not that you're necessarily wrong, but you may want to try to position yourself a little bit differently that gives you that added edge. Marcel says that's the goal, still working on it. EB says same, it's a grind. Be careful with it. That's all I'm saying, because when you're trading a smaller account with options, like I said, you can have quicker losses and outside losses. And I think it's a dangerous game. And this is where, for those of you that are in a community, myself and X really disagree, because he's of the mindset of, if you have like a 5% loss on an options contract, you want to cut it because you can always get back in. And he's right, you can always get back in. But what he doesn't realize, what I was reminded of, especially trading our small account that we have, you could cut it for 5% or whatever, and you could get back in, but you could also die a death of 1,000 cuts of cutting at 5% every single time over and over and over again. You're just going to eat losses. On top of that, you're limited by the amount of moves you can make, right? If you're on margin, guess what? You can only day trade 3 times before getting a PDT violation or flagged. And if you're on cash, you only have so much buying power. So these restrictions are in place, which the PDT rule is changing, thank God. That won't be an issue later on. So a lot of you guys are struggling with that right now. Stick to it, because at that point, what he's saying is 100% right. You can cut at 5% and get back in right away, because at that point, there's no PDT rule and you're good to go, which is great. But for now, be just very cautious on what you're picking. And I, if anything, would say, even if you spend a little bit more, buy more time, because it at least gives you more flexibility. And what you want to have, especially if you're learning to day trade or learning to day trade options specifically, is as much flexibility as possible. Yes, your gains will be smaller, theoretically, than buying shorter term contracts, because the percentage would be bigger, theoretically, or I should say comparatively. But you will take on less risk. And when you have a smaller account, yes, you should take on some risk, because you want to grow the money as quickly as possible. You want to be as far away from zero as you can, right? But at the same time, you can't make any money if you have no money to make money with. So there's a delicate balance there of understanding, like, again, something like this UAMI trade for me is a good risk to reward ratio here, where I'm risking, again, $130 a contract. I only have one, so I only have one shot at this, right? I can only get out once and get in once. But the opportunity is at least 400%. At most, I should say at least, at most, 400% gain. So that's worth a stab, right? Because especially in a smaller account, that is phenomenal. If I get that total gain, then I've just made a 10% portfolio gain on one contract. And for full transparency, the small account that we have at Exclusive Trading right now is at around $4,000. This contract's $130. If this goes where I say it's going to go, or should go, if it does go there, then that whole portfolio is up 10% off of one options contract. That's how you trade options in a small account, right? Where you find those really outside risk to rewards where it can make you multiples very quickly. That's where the real opportunity can lie if you're smart. Marcel says, I guess for experienced or full-time traders with knowledge like yours or X's, it's quite easy to grow an account of like 5 or 10K with options. Someone doing it on the side is a different thing. Yep, you're 100% right. But like I said, you even see me with the small account that we have in Seed to Tree. It's essentially flat since I've started. I haven't really lost money. I mean, I have, but I've came out of the doldrums of that, and it's just flat. And mainly over time, and as you can see right now, as you get more money, it's much easier to grow an account. When you're at a smaller dollar amount, it's very hard to grow. I'm telling you that right now from experience. When you're cooking around with $100 or $200 or $300, it is hard to get those wheels spinning. Once you get, like even Marcel just said, once you get over like a 5K hump, or especially a 10K hump, that gives you so much more diversity. That gives you more ability, because even every trade you make, even if you risk it properly, is a higher dollar amount. So those dollars start to move over and over and over, and you turn over more money. A lot of people are obsessed with percentages, which is our industry, right? You want to see big percent gains, but turning over the dollar amount is what matters. So if you can turn over more dollars than the percent, then you're winning all the time. You're consistently winning. UAMI here at VWAP just broke over the 50 MA, so the bulls might try to make a little bit of a push here. You're above the range. Like I said, I want this under 1550, ideally. So we'll see. Toby saying the wheel's spinning. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, when you get a large enough account, wheeling options is fantastic. You're only going to make, theoretically, like 1% wheeling. Like if you're doing it the right way on a portfolio in a week, you might make 1%. Because you're tying up a lot of collateral. But if you have a $100,000 portfolio, you're making $1,000 a week wheeling. right? If you have 200,000, that's $2,000, right? That's a lot of money. If you have a $200,000 portfolio and you're just wheeling trades, which again, I do that. No shame. It's great. It manages risk. It's a different kind of risk you could take completely. And assuming, again, you're making 1%, you're making $100,000 a year if you do that consistently. I'm sorry, $50,000 a year. No, $100,000. If you did 1%, it would be $1,000 times 52 weeks. That's $52,000. Yes, if you had $200,000 portfolio and you had 1% gain, it'd be $2,000 a week. So you'd have $100,000. So essentially, you'd be growing your whole portfolio just by wheeling. Essentially, if you were trying to net 1% gain on a wheel every week, you'd grow your entire portfolio in a year by 50%. That's assuming consistent wins, which isn't really realistic, but because you will get assigned sometimes and you will have to sell calls, but something to consider. Toby says, are you still doing it actively in the community? Yes, actually, I'm looking at selling some open puts today. I only have one position. I'm just double checking. I only have one position open that I've alerted, I should say, that I'm wheeling, and that's still my Celsius position. So this is a great way of how wheeling things, and this is my rule, and Toby knows this. My rule for wheeling options, I only wheel companies I want to own. You never want to wheel a company you don't want to own. And I wanted to own Celsius, and I originally alerted this wheel, which means I alerted the sold puts, the sell to open puts, last August, not August 2025, August 2024. And I was assigned those shares at 36.68. Since then, I've sold calls against that position. And yes, it has gone down, and now it's gone back up. And now I believe Celsius is at 60 something, right? $62. So I'm still long the shares. I haven't sold calls against it. I have been, like occasionally. But my equity is up like over, what is it, 70%? Yeah, 72%. If you're wheeling, like, it's great. It's a little bit of something for everybody, ultimately. I'm looking for NVIDIA to make a higher low here. Like I said, I'm going to be more patient on this one now. This really shouldn't be down here. As I said, and as I would continue to say, SPY's kind of hugging that 66937. We kind of just consolidated here after the push, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a cool off, like I was talking about earlier in the show, and how you want to see a bull push after cooling off, which we have cooled off that bull move right now. Eddie, that's a fantastic question. Eddie says, so Eddie, let's see if you listened. Eddie says, hypothetically speaking, would you enter into a $13 put? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said like sell. I was going to say, no, I wouldn't sell puts on UAMI because I don't want to own it. He said, hypothetically, would you enter a $13 put on UAMI for next week? Well, there's a reason I've chose a weekly option over next week, because next week at this point, I'm just spending more money than I don't need to spend this money. Yes, it could offer me more cushion, but I'm looking for a short-term trade here. So obviously, you can protect my downside, but it's also limiting my upside. So if I'm looking for a sharper move down, I'm basically like cutting myself off at the knees here, specifically if I wanted to buy more time, because I don't need the time in this scenario. I'm looking for the move today, and maybe a continuation tomorrow, but essentially like today, a move down. So I don't really need the time, if that makes sense. So theoretically, why would I buy a $13 put for 80 cents? It's the last fill for next week, when I can buy a $13 put for this week at over half the price, about a 60% discount. Now, with that being said, you can do this. So Eddie, here's an example. Let's say you wanted to buy one $13 put for next week on UAMI. That would cost you $80. You could instead, hypothetically, consider a weekly $13 put, assuming more risk, but you could buy up to 4 contracts. So maybe you don't buy 4 contracts, so you don't want to take that much risk, right? But you only buy 2. So in that case, you're spending $40, assuming they're $20 a pop. So you're spending half as much money, you have 2 contracts, and you're still looking for the same kind of move here, where actually in this scenario, you could make more money on a short-term move than next week. So ironically, by getting a short-term option in this specific scenario, you could reduce your cost basis, so reduce how much money you put out there at risk, and also potentially increase the total dollars you could make off of higher IV and the options moving in the money, if that's the trade you're trying to make. Does that make sense? So yes, I know it may sound better to go more risk off in the sense, and this is a very specific scenario specific to this stock and what I'm looking at today. It may make more sense to theoretically go more risk off and grab next week's put option because you're protecting more of your money, but with time, I should say. But in this scenario, specific scenario, you could spend half as much money, theoretically. So if you want to put $80 up for the $13 put next week, spend only $40, get 2 contracts for this week, and if the trade works in your favor, you'll make more money and even have the ability to trim if you want to trim. So food for thought. That's the kind of thing that runs through my mind all the time when I'm trying to pick an expiration and stuff. It's like, what is the likelihood of this occurring by this date, essentially, right? And obviously, you got to take other things into account, like your IV and all your other Greeks. So all those things matter quite a lot. But at the end of the day, it comes down to cost and your exposure. So how much exposure by dollar amount do you want to have? And you got to remember, each contract is giving you 100x leverage, theoretically. So one $13 put for next week would give you 100x leverage, again, theoretically, while 2 $13 puts for this week can offer you 200x leverage, again, theoretically, at half the cost, comparatively. Does that make sense, Eddie? Does that make sense to everyone else in the chat? That makes sense to everyone. And again, that's a very hyper-specific scenario for this specific stock that I've been talking about all morning. But I'm saying that for that reason, that even if it went against you, right? Even if rockets to $30 and you have a $13 put, you would lose $80 for next week. Your $13 put, or maybe you only lose $70 and you keep $10, right? Versus losing $40 for this week, assuming they go to zero, right? Those are the kind of things you want to weigh. How many dollars am I putting on the line? How much do I stand to make? And what is the reality of said move occurring, right? Plus, what do the Greeks look like, etc. Options trading is very nuanced. A lot of people, and I've said it on this program before, will go, buy call, stock go up, I make money. Buy put, stock go down, I make money. It is way more nuanced than that. You have to be very, very calculated when you're picking specific strikes and specific prices for specific things that you're looking to happen. It's all part of formulating a trade plan, which I've talked about on this show ad nauseum. You always want to have a plan. If this, then this. Always have an if this, then this. And actually, you see me do it twice this week, where I basically gave you an outline or a map essentially for volatility and the stock market. And I said when I'd be bullish and when I'd be bearish. It's the same thing. That's a trade plan. That's if this, then this. If SPY is at this level, if Qs are at this level, if IWM is at this level, with VIX at this level, with UVXY at this level, then that equals this. It's a multi-step equation every single day. And eventually, when you do this long enough, you just calculate it very quickly. You can look at all the data, and at least I'm a very analytical brain. Maybe not everyone's like that. But I can take in a lot of information and kind of condense it down to if this, then this, then this, then this, then this, okay. Which is why a lot of people make a lot of money with like algorithms in trading, right? They'll sell trading algorithms because it does that for you. It says, takes all these conditions and pops out an output, which is really what you want to do at the end of the day. You want to take as much information as you can to give you the highest probability of a success. And if you could take in all that information to increase your success, then you're going to want to do that as frequently as possible, right? Let me know if any of that makes sense, Eddie. You haven't replied, so I don't know if you're... I hope that made sense. HR dropped the thumbs up, so I'm hoping it clicks with everyone else as well. Hope that makes sense. VIX kind of flat here. VVIX moving down. UVXY has not broken under that 1125. That's your first step, so you're going to want to keep a tight eye on that. NVIDIA trying to make a higher low. Again, I'm exercising more patience on this entry now. leaving basically a lot of wicks down here. So this should push to the upside. And this is going to be your catalyst for the market to go boom, boom, essentially. Because, yes, it is still up technically on the day. How this is sitting, if it gets over this 183.30, it's going to get a hard push. And that's going to fuel a lot of bull sentiment for the SPY. Remember, NVIDIA is about, I think it's 8%, 9% of the overall S&P 500. So that's going to push a lot of bull sentiment into the market. Which makes me a little nervous for UAMI, but this seems like it's in its own little world today, which is totally fine. Looking pretty good across the board. Google kind of making a triple toppy kind of look up here. Might come down to 249.85-ish. Microsoft, not much to see. Apple, not much to see. Tesla's been doing good over that 233.31. Getting a little bit of a back test here on the 50 MA, but has been doing good overall. Amazon is not. Amazon's down on the day, now red, looking to go back to green. Kind of just consolidated, broke lower, and looking like it's trying to do a little V-bottomy action here. Meta's a beast today. Like I said, this one has runway to 750 pre-earnings, based on how this is setting up right now on the daily chart. You might want to wait till 733, 735 breaks for another 15 bucks. But looking pretty okay. Opens up a little bit. It's got to get back over. I'm still long this name, and I'm underwater on it for full transparency. It's got to get back over 814. Look for that today. This will move quickly when it does move. I'm actually probably going to sell puts on this at probably $8 puts midday for what it's worth if you care about that. Grab has been funky the last few days. Just keep an eye on it. I'm no longer, I was long, sold for profit, was long again, got stopped out, and now I don't have exposure. So it's not bad yet. Just keep an eye on it. Crocs is looking pretty solid. Whammy is up to 1575. Kind of getting a little tired here, but riding the 8 EMA up. MACD is getting a little tired as well. Might try to sweep up to the 16s real quick. Nice push here on NVIDIA. Contracts are green again. Eddie says, makes sense. I work in and out of my truck, so I can only respond every 10 minutes. That's okay, man. Like I said, I know some of you are very busy, so you just listen. Okay, I just want to make sure you make sure that made sense because you asked a specific question. So I want to give you a very specific answer. Qs are looking ready to pop high a day. SPY's looking ready to break this 66937 LOY, break this red SAR and get a nice little pop here. Supported by NVIDIA's push here right now, getting a nice push. IWM, big volume. Highest volume of the day right here on IWM's last candle. Got almost 1 million on that 1 minute candle here at the POC. So if the bulls are going to reverse it on IWM, it's right here. Do with that information what you will. Volatility flat. Very flat. This is a good push on NVIDIA. We get news? That's a good amount of volume. Not really. I mean, NVIDIA's always in the news, so it's hard to say what news is like big enough news. It's always in the news. All right, guys, it's about 10:50, so I'm going to open it up to you guys like I like to do at the end of the show, or as we're wrapping up the show. If you have any questions, complaints, concerns, ideas, etc., stocks you want to drop in the chat, whatever it may be, the floor is open to you guys. If you have any specific questions, now's the time to ask before we round out for the week. Let me know right now in the chat. Oh, that can't be right. There's only 9 likes on the stream. On the YouTube stream, there's 9 likes. Here, we'll do a quick goal. With 5 minutes left in the show, if we can get to 20 likes, I'll come back for Power Hour. 20 likes. We're at 9 likes. So 20 likes on YouTube, I'll come back for Power Hour. Otherwise, I might just do a Discord stream. So either way, we'll be doing something. Omar says, N-Scale supplying Microsoft with 200,000 NVIDIA GPUs for AI infrastructure. Did that pop Microsoft as well? A little bit. A little bit. Alan says there's only 15 watching, right? Well, there's over 135 people watching across all platforms. Of which there are 15 of you watching on YouTube. So if everyone pops on over to YouTube, you can get the likes. See how that works? It is possible. I don't make impossible goals. HR says, what is the best way to use Greek? I assume you mean the Greeks. Prior to entry for confirmation or after entry? Okay, so theoretically, you would always want to look at the Greeks before entering a trade in general. Because if you don't look at the Greeks, you don't know what you're buying, right? My favorite rule of thumb, and you'll hear me say it on the program quite a bit, when I get into a call or a put, I always calculate my conservative gain or loss just by using the delta. Your delta is your increase or decrease for every dollar move in the underlying. You also have gamma and vega that are going to affect that number. It's going to change, obviously, as you move more in the money or out the money. When I enter, I like to use that as the most conservative basis for a gain. So, for example, let's say I'm right here on NVIDIA at 182.50. And let's say I have a delta 50, right, just for simplicity. And it's a $1 call. Or I spent $1 on the call, right? That means I know at the most conservative basis at 183.50 that contract would be worth at least $1.50. Because that's assuming no delta appreciation. That's assuming Vega's not implying anything. The only other way that can't work is if IV drops and you're on the buy side of the option, because that will affect things. So assuming IV stays stagnant, but you're also removing your gamma and your Vega essentially, that will affect that options trade. So that's how I personally calculate the most conservative gain or loss on a trade. Again, the most conservative basis. So with that, that gives me an idea of what I could roughly make, at least very quick math, right? But you want to be aware. So I pay way more attention to the Greeks on a high IV name. A name where IV percentile is much higher. I pay way more attention to the Greeks on swings. I pay way more attention to the Greeks. There's not really a time I don't pay attention to the Greeks. If I'm day trading something quick on a name that doesn't have higher IV in general, then I may be a less hardcore reading into the Greeks and be more concerned, especially on like a weekly contract, on the probability of a call or a put going in the money or out the money, because that has the most effect is your intrinsic versus your extrinsic value. It's very situational, to be honest with you. As I'm saying it all out loud, it's like it really depends, but it's definitely not something you should be ignoring. And if you're trading options with not reading the Greeks or not looking at the Greeks, then you're doing it wrong. And I would heavily suggest you break that habit very quickly. Wayne saying, you're doing a great job, Adam. Much appreciated. Hey, man. Appreciate the nice words. Thank you. And Alam, I don't know how to say your name. Alam. Hard to get 20 likes. Yeah, okay. I always click like and it shows like 3 likes. Yeah, it updates for me on the back end here. What do we got? Let's see. See, as I said that, people have come over and now concurrently are viewing on YouTube. Looks like we got 13. Listen, we'll get to a point where this community grows so big, we're going to be smashing 20 like goals out the door every single time. Oh, now we're up to 18 concurrent viewers. Am I talking trash and you guys are coming over to YouTube right now to hit the like button? Give it 2 more minutes. The viewers are switching over to YouTube. While you're here, while you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 200 subscribers. Almost. The growth on this channel... Well, let me go on a quick little sidebar here. The growth on this channel has been substantially phenomenal in this space. There is a lot. It's very hard to grow in the finance space in general. Very hard. Because there's a limited audience. You guys are a very limited audience. Not many people care for financial content, right? They don't. Hey, I'm that kind of guy too. There's not a lot of finance creators. And on top of that, there's not a lot of finance creators that make this crap interesting. You know how many times I watch other YouTube videos and it's just like a snore? There's no energy, there's no hype, there's no excitement in their voice. They don't make it fun or interesting or even entertaining. They're talking monotone like this. I'm long X calls. You don't want to watch that? I don't want to watch that. No one wants to watch that. So we try to make things interesting around here. And because of that, and because of the love and support I get from you guys watching the show whenever I'm live, a lot of you are here a lot of the times. I appreciate your coming back over and over and over again. We have seen, just so you guys know, 160% growth in subscribers over the rolling last 28 days. We have seen over 70% increase in watch time. This is YouTube alone. This is just YouTube. And over 400% more views on the YouTube channel in the last 28 days. So I appreciate all your support, as always, because it means a lot to me. I like making things, and I like knowing when I'm making something, you guys find some value in it. That's what really matters to me. I don't want to waste my time here being live and no one cares. No one wants to do that, right? How are we over 20 concurrents and only 12 likes? If everyone just hit the like button, we'd be doing a power hour stream. I'll give it like one more minute. Hatchet says, NVIDIA looking bullish price targets. Yes, sir. We'll take a peek at that before we pop off here. So again, the big level to watch is over this 183.30. And you can use the blue line here, so that's my 200 MA, as your additional confluence. I also have an alert set here. So 183.30, 183.62, this general range here, that's going to be your short term, so you're like your intraday resistance. Getting over this, quick push to 184.55. Getting over 184.55 puts 186.21 in the conversation today. Now here's where I'd get a little lofty intraday. I'd be a little bit cautious. Maybe consider runners at this point. You also, if you're long the 185 calls, you'd be in the money $1.20. So you have intrinsic value at that point where you could be pretty careful and be just fine. That being said, if things get super nutty, which I don't think they would, there's no reason for things to get nutty, but things did get super nutty. 190, 105 is the next level. That'd be great. But I'm going to keep you guys grounded. That's probably not going to happen. What I'd like to see here in terms of a trade, intraday, and you could go runners here if you want. If that's the plan, that's the plan. But breaking this general area here, 183.30 to 183.62, like that general range, breaking that volume coming in to 184.55, might hit a little pit stop there, and then hard push to 186.21. That puts you above open price. That puts you above your pre-market high. So things could get extended there, but if there's volume pushing there, maybe don't sell everything just yet. Maybe just wait a little bit. There might be a little bit more. A little bit more. Toby saying that's a lot of growth. If you were a company, I would buy. Yeah, everyone long Atom stock. Atomcash stock. We are growing, baby. And we're going to keep growing thanks to the love and support I get from you guys in the chat as always. And with that being said, we're going to wrap everything up. We got 13 likes. That's okay. I appreciate you guys taking the time to click a little button anyway. I appreciate it. I know when I watch a live stream, I typically don't do it when they ask, so I'm pretty bad about it. But with me being such a small fish, I appreciate you guys doing that. It does help me out, especially in the algorithm. And you guys are our main reason why the growth continues to grow. Before I leave, before I sign off here, for that UAMI trade, I spoke about it ad nauseum. Watch the low a day. Again, around 1470-ish is where you'd start to see that delta hedging. Watch the volume at that point. If that breaks and we see a pull down there, you will go to 12. With like a high degree of certainty, you will go to 12. If it looks a little sketchy, happily put a stop loss on at that point. At 12 will not be an easy break either. But if 12 does break, you're more than likely going to drive to 10. Probably 11 is where I'd start watching the volume and seeing how things look. But 10 would be the extension. For context, that would be almost a 50% drop from yesterday's high. Gnarly. But the probability and the odds that happens are there. There is a strong chance that happens. So do with that what you will. To the upside here, if it's above VWAP, you're going to see a lot of people try to trade it long, as you're seeing right now. I would watch this general 16 area. It's got this LOI up here at 1671. So I would kind of treat 1615 to 1671 as a supply zone. And again, it's not the worst thing that you're getting an intraday little rally here, because there needs to be a level of cooling off. If we're going to drive price down, right? If we're going to drop this thing, if this is going to drop another like multiple dollars, there needs to be some bullishness to cool off to alleviate the bear momentum. If we just kind of melted here and just kept dying, while it does happen, I wouldn't actually be, I'd be more concerned, or I'd be at least more aggressive on my take profit. Now that we've had this little cool off move here, if this rounds off and then breaks 14 or 15, I'm going to love it. Love it. Anyway, guys, that's going to wrap it up. I made a Halloween outro for you guys as well. So we made a Halloween outro for the show. So if you want to stick around and listen to that, you can. If not, you could say bye now and say bye now. But I hope you guys had a great day. Please be smart about your trading decisions for the rest of the week. As a reminder, it is OPEX, so please be very smart about that. Options expiration, we tend to see a little bit more volatility, so just be aware of that. You guys know what you're looking at for the VIX. You know what you're looking at for UVXY. You know what you're looking at on the individual markets, on NVIDIA, which is now pushing. We're at 183. Love to see it. You got all the tools, guys. You're good to go. So with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Make smart decisions. And as always, some will say you need an edge to trade. Well, I like to look at things from a different angle, and that's always what you get right here on the Atomcash angle. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And remember, precision beats prediction every damn time. I'll see you guys next time.
Time has passed, and that's a wrap. You're armed with the angle and your plan of attack. While the show is at an end, your journey continues. We live